Today is World Ocean Day. The theme, Revitalisation, Collective Action for the Ocean. And I spoke with Nikola Simpson of the UNDP about the importance of the ocean and how best we can preserve it.
I think what's important, and for me especially, it's great to celebrate the ocean one day, but we need to celebrate it every day. But on the flip side of that, I think we also need to raise the alarm because there are many challenges and crises facing our ocean which also affect us. But for this year, I really want to see as many people as possible come together to take action for a common goal, restoring and revitalizing our ocean.
How do you plan to achieve that?
I think what many of us are trying to do is bring as many voices to the table and amplify these voices. So from community to cabinet. So can we bring as many stakeholders to the table as possible? So from fisher folk to thought leaders to policymakers to private sector to third sector. So how can we continue to bring everyone together to co-create solutions to the many challenges faced within our ocean space?
There's always been much discussion about protecting the coral reefs. In this whole initiative, how do you guys envision that being done?
So there are many initiatives within Barbados that are focusing on coral reefs, and basically through the Coastal Zone Management Unit and CERMES at the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill, and other partners, they produce a coral reef report every 5 years. And the last report produced is not looking great overall. The status of the reefs is quite poor. Obviously, we have to note that there are many different types of coral reefs, and some are doing better than others. Some on the east might be doing a bit better than the ones on the west. But I think we need to come together and we need to continue to restore our coral reefs through restoration initiatives such as behind us right here, Barbados Blue. They've been planting corals. So has Coral, the Coral Reef Restoration Alliance. So individuals and communities are actually going out there and planting corals to help restore them. But I think another important element of that is how we as individuals standing here can have less impacts on coral reefs. So we have to be looking at land-based sources of pollution, water quality, physical damage from anchors, for example, marine construction. So there are many different challenges facing our coral reefs and our oceans, and it takes all of us to play our part to try to reduce those challenges where we can.
You could hardly go to any beach in Barbados without seeing the influx of sargassum. Even here, there are some remnants of that. How big of a concern is this? We've been having this issue for quite some time. And what is being done? What's on the agenda in addressing this? Whether we can find alternative ways to use it? What's being done?
Yeah, so as you rightly said, Sargassum seaweed, we've been seeing influxes of that since 2011 in the Eastern Caribbean region, and this year is no different. And the most recent Outlook Bulletin actually predicted that it's going to be severe for the next few months, so from May to July. So we're actually in the middle of a severe influx right now. And we've even seen, sargassum on the west coast, which isn't as common. So although this poses many challenges, I think it's also a huge opportunity. And we're seeing a lot of innovators within this space trying to turn this problem into profit. So some of the examples of this are using the sargassum seaweed to create biofuel, for example. Some individuals have been using it as fertilizer. In other countries, not in Barbados yet, people are using it for building materials, for bricks. So there really are a lot of potential opportunities in this, and I would like to see more support being provided to these innovators so that they can scale their ideas to the next level and turn this problem of sargassum seaweed into profit.
Okay, and what role do you see government and key stakeholders in helping in making that reality?
I think, under the theme of World Oceans Day, the collective action for the ocean, you mentioned government and other stakeholders. I think we all have a role to play. So from a government standpoint, a lot of initiatives have been in progress to tackle the sargassum seaweed, and government, formerly the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy, now the Blue Economy Division under the Ministry of Environment and National Beautification, Green and Blue Economy, have been working on different initiatives to collect and harvest the sargassum and support some of these same innovators that I mentioned to turn sargassum into product, into profit. So I think there needs to be further investment into supporting these individuals. And in addition, I think there still needs to be a bit more research done on the sargassum seaweed. The University of the West Indies, through CERMES, has really been doing a lot of work to try to predict the landings of sargassum seaweed. When are they coming in? So how can we better prepare and prepare for sargassum seaweed? It also goes to the fishers. when it's floating out at sea, it's a great habitat and ecosystem for them, but it also clogs their engines and has been impacting catches of some of our favorite fish. So I think we need to continue to also listen to the fishers and their voices, and when they're seeing sargassum seaweed, listen to that so that they can also help us predict what's happening and how they can come up with solutions to better tackle it. So it takes everyone for sure.
There's always been a constant issue with dumping on beaches. This has been endangering a number of animals. What's being done about this, and how big of a concern is this for you?
I think dumping and pollution in general, whether we're talking about land-based sources of pollution or ocean pollution, is a huge challenge, and there are a multitude of challenges that we're talking about that are impacting our ocean. When we look at illegal dumping plastic pollution, I think it's one of the biggest concerns, because whatever happens on land ends up in the sea. So even if you're in St. Andrew and you dump something, it's going to end up in the ocean, and we've seen that it has impacted sea turtles, it's impacted marine mammals, fish species. Even more recently, unfortunately, with the ongoing pandemic, I've seen it with my own eyes right here, masks, disposable masks in the water, in the sargassum seaweed that's sinking, some even around sea turtle hatchlings and fish. So it's a really big concern, and I think that we need to continue to take a multi-pronged approach. Like I said earlier, I think it takes from community to cabinet. So we as individuals have a role to play to become more aware of how we're disposing of our waste. But it also then comes up to cabinet. Can we put policy, legislation, regulations in place that will discourage this kind of behavior? But in the end, I think probably the biggest challenge is behavioral change and changing mindsets. How can we think about this differently and think of the beach as our home and protect it as we hopefully would our own home? So I invite you to join me today on UN World Oceans Day and every day to celebrate our ocean and to play your part to revitalize the ocean. At this time, unfortunately, we're taking more from the ocean than we need, and we need to find a better balance between people and planet.